Hello folks, welcome to this tutorial. This is Data Skills for Everyone. We are still on basic text processing with Python. Learn to handle text with the confidence that you need. So in this video, I'm gonna focus on how to turn a collection of strings or text that you have into a table of numbers. How exciting would that be that you have a collection of text data that you want to turn into a table of numbers like you have an Excel sheet or CSV sheet with these numbers corresponding to these collection of text that you have, right? And as you can see, that is the motivation for this video. Okay, how can you do it and what are some of the effective ways you can go about doing this? So today I'm going to show you, and to give you a little more detail into it, this is how your table should look like after you have, processed your data. And it might even be a bigger table than this, but just going to lay the foundations of it for you in this video. And the possibilities are endless as you begin to explore this. So if you're ready, let's, as usual, jump in and see what we have for today. Okay, so here we are in my favorite IDE for this kind of text processing in Spider. So let me quickly summarize for you what we are going to be doing today. Okay, so as I said earlier on, we are going to process a collection of text, and your collection can come from so many sources. It can be from external files that you read in, they could be text files, JSON files, or whatever format that you have saved them in. And then once you read them in, you can go ahead and do your processing. And sometimes you can just use regular Python loops to do that, or you could use structured data frame like pandas to handle this kind of tasks. Okay, so for us, we're gonna get in data not from text files this time, but we're just gonna use this library that allows us to generate fake data. Okay, so the faker library, that's what I'm going to use to getting some data. So let's go ahead and getting some data. So from faker, we import the faker class, and then as usual we create this reference to the faker class. We instantiate it like that. Okay, so what I like to do is to define a simple function here that would generate my data for me. So let's just call it generate data. Okay, and all that we need is to tell it the number of data instances we want to generate. So for now, let's do 10. Okay, and what are we gonna do? Okay, so basically we're gonna iterate, okay, go over using the number of data instances and generate some data. So basically what we want our data to look like is that we want it to have something like a title, and we want it to have some text. Okay, so think of it like blog post articles that we want to manipulate here. Okay, so to do that, there are several ways that you can do it. I like to use list comprehensions to do things like that. Okay, so how am I going to do this? Okay, I'm going to say for n in this here. All right, so the number of times we have number specified. Each time that we loop through it, I'm just going to generate a dictionary. Okay, so the title will be fake sentence. Okay, we'll use that for the title, and then for the text we would also use a fake text like that. But this allows us also to specify the number of characters to use. Okay, so the parameter is called max number of cars, which we can specify. We want a long piece of text. Okay, so let's give it like 1,000. Okay, so if this works, all that we need to do is now to return it. Okay, so once we call our function, it should give us a list of these dictionaries here. Okay, so let's see if our function is gonna work. So I run that, and now let's let's generate the data. So the data we can easily generate by calling generate data function. Okay, and specify, well, the default is 10. Okay, just to be, um you can just specify. Okay, so let's look in our data. Wow, so we have a lot of data over there. Let's look at the very first one and see how it is structured. So you can see that we have a title, and then we have a text here. Okay, so based on the data that we have generated here, we can go ahead and do some processing. Now remember, we wanted to have a table, okay, that had, for each document, the number of um words that it contains, and then the number of uh, characters. Okay, you might want to do something even more interesting. For this particular text that we have, we don't really need a lot of pre-processing to do, so let's skip that one and go to perform the calculations. Okay, so how do we go about that? I like to combine using lists and dictionaries to go about that. So again, very similar to what we did, we can combine, we can do something like this. Okay. Okay, so let me just zoom in so that you can see a little more what I'm gonna do. Okay, so for D in data, so I'm gonna loop over the collection like this. And what I want to do is I want to generate the number of words, and I also want to generate the number of characters there are. Perhaps if I want to, I could just add one more thing and say how long is the title. Okay, so let's call it title length. Okay, so how do I do this? I just like to do it one by one for ease of understanding. So first thing, n words. How do we do it? Okay, we can do n words by taking D and splitting it up like that. D dot split. Okay, and for now, let's just leave it. Let us split on white space characters, and we can specify the length of it. So I just wrap this around in the length function. On how many words do we have, so we can do n cars as well. And also for that, we can just do length and pass in D. Okay, what about the title length? Okay, so that one also is gonna be easy. Nope, that's title length. Remember one thing, we left something out. Now, remember that the data that we are generating here, each instance is going to be a dictionary. So we actually need to go into this dictionary, okay, and index into it. So we want the text here. The same thing for this one, we are applying it to the text, okay. But for the title length, what we are going to do, similar thing as this one, we are going to do D and get the title. All right, so it's the length of the title, and we need to split because we want the number of words in the title, not the characters. Okay, so yeah, that was a small mistake over there. Okay, so if this is correct, we should get everything working fine. All right, and I like to save this in a variable, so let's call it calculations and initialize it to an empty list. Okay, so with this setup now, all that we need to do in our calculations variable is to now append everything we have done line by line. Okay, so we can now append this in a dictionary like that. Okay, so we can have, just to save me from typing too many times, I'm just going to do this. All right, so n words will be n words, and then we can have n cars. Okay, that's also gonna be like that. And then finally we have the title in, also gonna be that one. And nice and easy. And now we are ready to do our calculations. So let me run that. Oh, we don't have any errors as you can see. So let's go and inspect our output and see what we have in our calculations variable. Okay, so let's take a look at it. And you can see nicely that we have this table. It's not a real table, but it's just a list of dictionaries, which we can easily turn into a pandas data frame. That would be essentially a table, and we can use that for more. So let's turn the whole thing into a pandas data frame now. Okay, and how do we do that? We just have to import our pandas, speedy, and now we can construct a data frame which we can use. Okay, so pd.data frame. Nice. And then we pass it the list, which is our calculations. And the nice thing with working with a list of dictionaries is that we have the column names generated for us automatically. Okay, so we can now inspect. Let's go ahead and run these 3 lines like that. Nicely, that is our pandas data frame, which can now be saved to a CSV, and all that you need to do is to do dot to CSV and give it a name. Let's call it calculations.csv. Okay, so this should save it to my current working directory, and voila, that's it. So folks, you have seen how to take a collection of files or text files that you have and turn it into a table of data, and this table can get as big as you want it depending on the kind of calculations that you want to do on your text files. All right, so that's all we have for today. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, I'd like to hear them. Until then, I'll see you. Bye bye.